guys, this is Bianca from Lotus Series Designs, and I am here today to talk to you about how to spray Dixie Belle Paint using an HVLP sprayer. For today's example, I am working on an antique wardrobe, and the color that I chose is Dixie Belle's Peacock, which is a gorgeous shade of blue. So let's get started. As you can see, the first thing I did was shake up my paint really well, and then I am pouring it into my spray cup. Disclaimer, I never measure anything, and so my goal here is to give you some tips that is going to help you determine the water to paint ratio. A fresh jar of Dixie Belle paint will have a thicker consistency, which can be compared to, I suppose, brownie batter. You can see that I added some water and I am now stirring it into the paint. The goal here is to get it to be more of a runny cake batter. Word of wisdom, it is best to start off with small amounts of water and stir it in so that you don't overwater your paint. However, if you do overwater your paint, it's not the end of the world. Your paint is just going to be thinner and you'll probably need to apply more coats. So after I got it mixed in, I obviously decided that I wanted to go back in and add more water. It's hard to give a precise measurement, so my advice would be to play around with it. It's going to depend on how thick your paint is, your type of sprayer, etc. Perhaps you could even practice on something small before you tackle your large projects. Moving forward, let's get into the fun part, which is spraying your furniture. You're probably wondering what type of sprayer I am using. I am using a Graco Finish Pro HVLP with an edge to gun. This is a higher end sprayer. I purchased it a couple of years ago and have fallen in love with it and can't seem to part with it to this point. However, if you are looking for something more entry level, Dixie Belle offers a Wagner sprayer, which is very easy to use and is also budget friendly. I would look into that one to get you started, unless you want to take the plunge and go big or go home. The HVLP in the sprayer is what you want to look for, and that means high volume, low pressure. That means there's not going to be a whole lot of overspray and you're going to get a finer finish. I could continue to talk about the differences between sprayers all day. However, that's not why we're here. So, moving on to the technique. As you can see, I've already started working on the front portion of this wardrobe. So very quickly, I'm going to give you a crash course on how to spray furniture using a sprayer and Dixie Belle paint. You may have noticed as I spray the front of this armoire, I am taking it in sections. I take a second to do a couple of passes over the filigree to make sure that I get inside all of the nooks and crannies of the details. Then, in uniform passes, I'm going to start at the top of the wardrobe and bring my sprayer down. Notice closely how I am not bending my wrist as I go down the length of the wardrobe and come back up. Do not make the mistake of bending your wrist. Keep your wrist straight and the angle consistent with every pass. Otherwise, you are going to end up with more paint on one part and less on another. The next thing that I want to stress to you is as you put the paint on, as you are doing your passes, you want to make sure that you overlap 50% of the previous layer as you go. Doing this is going to keep a consistent amount of paint on your piece, and it is going to eliminate streakiness, which oftentimes is common when using a sprayer. After I applied my first coat, I did go back and apply a second after waiting about an hour between coats. The time that you need to wait between applying coats is going to be dependent on your particular climate. Next up, I decided to take it a step further and spray the filigree or the details with a different color, in this case Dixie Belle's Cobalt Blue. Being that my last coat will be hand brushed and blended, I wanted to go ahead and get a head start on filling in the details of the filigree. Obviously, this step will be optional depending on what type of finish you're going for. It looks messy now, but I promise it will all come together. So to wrap up this basic how-to spraying Dixie Belle Paint 101 video, tips would be to make sure that your paint is watered down to a cake-like consistency rather than a thick brownie batter. Also, keep your wrist straight as you are spraying in order to get a consistent and even finish. And lastly, as you are spraying, make sure you are overlapping the previous layer by about 50%. Thank you for watching, and I hope that you learned something here today. Stay tuned for future tutorials, perhaps even more on how to spray Dixie Belle Paint. Don't forget to subscribe or follow or like my social media pages at Lotus Theory Designs, and I will see you guys next time. Again, thanks for watching.